The Appellate Division Courthouse of New York State. First Department is a historic courthouse located at 35 East 25th Street at the corner of Madison Avenue, across from Madison Square Park, in Manhattan, New York City. The building is 3 stories, with a basement. The central entrance faces 25th Street. History. Before the courthouse was built, the Appellate Division, 1st Department, of New York State Supreme Court had occupied rented quarters on 5th Avenue and 19th Street. Plans for the new building were first filed in 1896. The building plans were jointly approved in June 1896 by the City Sinking Fund Commissioners and the Appellate Division Justices. The Appellate Division, 1st Department, formally took possession of the new courthouse on January 2, 1900. The budget for the building was $700,000, but only $633,768 was spent. Exterior. The limestone Beaux-Arts courthouse, in the style of an 18th-century English country house, was designed by James Brown Lord and built in 1896–1899. It is considered to be an outstanding example of the City Beautiful movement. Some 25% of the cost was spent on sculpture, a huge sum at the time. At the time of its construction, the American Architect and Building News predicted that the rest of the country will envy New York the possession of this building. Quote, in 1900, Charles Dickey wrote in The Independent that the courthouse shines like an ivory casket among boxes of ordinary maple. The exterior features sculptures in white marble on subjects related to law. Carl Bitter's piece is the central grouping on the balustrade by Madison Square. Daniel Chester French's Justice is the central grouping on 25th Street. Justice is flanked by Power and Study, also by French. 16 sculptors worked on the courthouse, all members of the then newly formed National Sculpture Society. In 1928, the New Yorker called the building the rather pleasant little Appellate Courthouse with its ridiculous adornment of mortuary statuary. Charles Henry Niehause's Triumph of Law, described as a giant pedimental group on a screen of 6 Corinthian columns, rising from several groups of allegorical sculpture, fronts 25th Street. Thomas Shields Clark sculpted screen of female caryatids on the Madison Avenue front, at the 3rd floor level, representing the seasons. Summer holds a sickle and a sheaf of wheat. On the roof, there are single standing figure sculptures, depicting historical, religious, and legendary lawgivers. These statues are of the same height and proportion, are robed, and appear with various attributes associated with the law, such as book, scroll, tablet, sword, charter, or scepter. The first statue on the Madison Avenue side is Confucius by Philip Martini, with Peace by Carl Bitter in the middle, and Moses by William Cooper at the other end. Facing south on the 25th Street side is Edward Clark Potter's Zoroaster, which was, along with all 25th Street statues, moved down one bay when Charles Albert Lopez's Muhammad was removed in 1955, following protests against this image of the Prophet from Muslim nations. Next on this side is Jonathan Scott Hartley's Alfred the Great, followed by George Edwin Bissell's Lycurgus and Herbert Adams's Solon. Next to Solon is the Justice set of sculptures by French, and then 3 more statues: John Talbot Donahue's St. Louis, Henry Augustus Lukeman's Manus, and Henry Kirk Bush Brown's Justinian. At street level, 2 pedestals holding 2 monumental seated figures of wisdom and strength by Frederick Ruxtell flank stairs leading to a portico. The exterior of the building was designated a New York City landmark in 1966. Interior. 10 artists were commissioned by Lord, with the assistance of the National Society of Mural Painters, to execute allegorical murals for the courthouse interior. By spring 18 1898, Henry Siddons Mowbray, Robert Reed, Willard Leroy Metcalf, and Charles Yardley Turner were selected for the murals in the entrance hall, while Edwin Howland Blashfield, Henry Oliver Walker, Edward Simmons, Kenyon Cox, Joseph Larber, and Alfred Collins were selected for the murals in the courtroom. Specially designed furniture was made by Herter Brothers. The interior of the courthouse was designated a New York City landmark in 1981, and it was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1982. The building was restored in 2000 by the architectural firm of Platt Byatt, Doville White Gallery.